Hi. My name is Galia. I'm a software engineer at daytime at Sweep.io and a code activist by night at Meirim organization. And I would like to share with you my story about how I created the first tree notification system in Israel. My story begins about 2 years ago while I was riding my bicycle in Amir Road in Tel Aviv, when I noticed a group of construction men standing with heavy machinery and cutting down an old, magnificent, wonderful ficus tree in the street. I immediately approached them and I asked them, "What are you doing? By which right?" And this guy told me, the supervisor, "It's okay, I have a tree license, I can do it, no problem." In that moment, I felt shock, I felt helpless. I wanted to save that tree and I couldn't. I didn't know in advance about this is about to happen, and I couldn't group my people, I couldn't protest. In that moment, I had nothing to do. Later that night, after putting my kids to bed, I decided that I wished to use my skills and time in order to prevent this from happening again. So I had an idea, but what do you do with an idea? How do you manifest it into something that can work? Well, the first thing I had to do, like in every project, is to conduct a product analysis. What is the problem? Who are the users? What is the desired impact I wish to have? First, there was my own personal problem of extreme lack. Was the first problem. While I'm going in the street to my work, afternoon, I have no shade on my way, extreme lack of shade. This is a picture of my place. In Tel Aviv, at summer, 30 degrees Celsius, it's hot. And the heat does not radiate only from the sun, but also from the asphalt and the concrete in the city, which is called the urban heat effect, as you may know. This is a serious issue. My second problem was this, the national problem. Many trees in Israel each year are being cut down, usually for development, but not only. Let's talk about the numbers. In 2021, over 90K trees have been cut down to development projects in Israel. This one, in additional to over 200K trees being cut down in agriculture, to agricultural purposes, crop replacements, and so on. So together, in 2021, over 300K trees have been cut down. This is equals to the total amount of trees exists in Tel Aviv, and these trees is being cut down each year in Israel. So this was obviously a major problem. And my third problem was the lack of public visibility. Most of the public does not know it's happening, and even if someone knows that trees are being cut, it has no way to know whether the trees around the house gonna be. If nobody knows, the tree licenses are published here in the website of the government, and it has extremely low accessibility. Okay, so why it happens? How does a tree get licensed in order to cut it down? It's called felling, by the way, felling license. I made you a short timeline. Meet Jack. Jack is a real estate developer. He wished to cut down a tree and to build a building instead. He applies to the local woodland officer, קצין היערות, and he submit a request in order to cut down the tree. The officer examines his request and decides to approve. On that moment, the officer publishes the form on the website, and the public have exactly 14 days, the time week, to appeal, to object. If you submit appeal, the process is stopped. 14 days usually pass silently, unnoticed, without everybody know, and finally the tree can be cut down forever. So, this product analysis, okay, so now we discussed about the problem, let's talk about the users. Obviously, I wish that the user would be all the people in Israel. I wish everyone to log in, to register, and save the trees around their house. The beta users, the users which I which I started to interview was obviously the local tree huggers community in Israel, the one that actually care about the trees even before I have any system. I had many interviews. I think I talked to many of them, if not most of them. And one name just kept pop up again. Galia, if you can do something like the system already exists in Meirim. Meirim is a non-profit organization. It was already exist when I joined them, and we have a latent system about notification, about planning and building rules in Israel. I talked with Eyal, the CEO, about my vision of doing a tree felling notification system, and he got extremely excited because basically we share the same vision about empower people to be involved in their neighborhood and influence the planning and the building. I founded Meirim not only a platform which exists and a user base of few thousand people, but also through friends. Join an activist team, it will be one of my first takeouts from here. Have a team while doing code activism. So we discussed the problems and we discussed the users. What is the desired impact? Well, obviously, I would like people to register and save the trees around their area. In the long run, I wish that the impact would be an involved community, shared community that acts together with the officials to manifest that our trees would look something more like this. So how do we make it real? How do you take from the idea from execution? With that in mind, we started working, and about 3 months later, we had a website and a system that looks something like this. An open source, volunteer-based, Node.js-based, automated system for notifying people about trees cutting planned in their vicinity. How does it work? Let's take a look. That's our system overview. It's composed of 4 parts. It has 2 parts which are constructed from the tech part and 2 parts from the activism part. ETL, you're all familiar with the term, extract, transform, load. Or in other words, how do we get from an Excel file into this wonderful website with cards? Well, the Ministry of Agriculture, the government does not share an open API about tree licenses. They do publish some list about 20 Excel files which a person can log in and look with his own eyes about the place he lives in. So what we do, we download twice a day, script, and we save those files into our system. Then the file looks something like this. Then we need to save it to load it to our system. In that case, we had some few challenges. Well, the first of them is that the permit does not hold a unique ID. Each ID is unique only within its own file, and there are about 20 of them that keeps changing. The second one, as I told, that there is no API, so we need to guess which license is a new one. Because we keep repeatedly download the same files over and over again, we need to distinguish them. And the third one was most of the licenses, they appear in more than one row in the Excel file because they decided to divide them according to the tree kind. So if a license holds more than one tree kind, it will be in a multiple lines. So we had this transform issue, and we managed to compose something like this. I won't get into deep, but we created a unique key which holds the date, the place it's going to be, and the ID of the license from the Excel file, which is mostly unique, and it does do all the work. Okay, and we also sum the total tree into one record, so we can have a nice card. But that's not all what we do. Something in this image is still missing from the process I described before, which is the map. Exactly, we were missing the geo properties. In the record, there is an address written, but nothing that I can present the user about how to do in the website. So what we had to do, we decided to use a geocoder. Nominatim, if you know, and if not, it's a geocoder, it's a service, it's us, that you give them an address, and it gives you a GeoJSON format that you can put on a map. It's free, and it's based on OSM. OSM, OpenStreetMap. This is like the Wikipedia of the mapping world. It has over 8 million users and contributors, and it's a huge project. So we use Nominatim. This is an usage example. It's a URL. You can use the search, and you can use the search point and enter a street and a city, and you would get a nice polygon, and that would be great. It works nice most of the time, and it's free, and so it's very useful. Now, but we wanted not only to construct a URL each time, which is extremely bad. We wanted to integrate it within our Node project. And for that purpose, I found this nice Node geocoder package. It's also free, it's also open source. You can use it, and it supports most of the available map provider exist in the world. So that was nice. I can call the Nominatim service using geocoder, easy to config source code, and I started to write it down, and I did some testing, and I found this and I found that. It started to look great, but then I got a huge amount, sorry, this is an example, and how to use it, and then I got a huge amount of errors who looks something like this. Oops. And then I learned another lesson. While you are using a free software, always read the small letters. As you can see, Nominatim has a very strict policy of 1 request per second. Do not overeat. They will block you, and you will have to write very nice letters in order to remove this blockage. Okay, so eventually my code looked something like this. Not the most beautiful piece of code you could ever see, but there is an interval. We are running in a very synchronical way. We are waiting about 10 seconds between each request. And it takes some time, but since the project is not highly time sensitive, we can allow ourselves to run even a half an hour, even an hour, and it's working, and it's good. Now, so we managed to take records in Excel and put it into a nice way in the website. What do we do next? How do we alert our users in order that could do something about it? In this case, I took advantage of the pre-existing system in Meirim that we already have an alerting for building plans. So I just had to hook up with it. The mechanism is extremely simple. We mark each new record in the DB sent false. We find all the users registered to notification in that place. We send the mails. We mark them as true. If a person registered to our website after the notification was sent, he or she will not get another one. That's the system, very simple, but working. I would like to take a moment to talk about volunteer-based code, volunteer-based principles while doing open source. This is a great example of the first rule, which is keep it simple. If your code is not simple, it's not gonna hold up. While working in volunteering, it's not perfect, it shouldn't be sophisticated, you don't need to catch all the cases, but it needs to be simple, so other one could join and contribute. The next principle is keep it working. If it does not work, if it does not work all the time, it will never work. We are volunteers, we don't have a full-time DevOps around, it should never fail. Our servers can run months without any maintenance at all. And the third rule, which correlates, is keep the standards. If your code is not excellent, don't push it to production, because again, then it won't be working and it wouldn't be simple, and it violates the other rules, and the system will break down. The other thing I like in Meirim, that we have a core team of talented engineers, which are also very skillful, but also have a lot of sense of responsibility. So your team quality is extremely important. We talk about alerting, and now about the content. Metaddy. Adi, she wants to save the trees around her house. She registered to Meirim, and she even got a notification about the trees that someone wished to fell around her house. She got really excited, but now what? Okay, now she knows that's a great thing, but what can she do in order to help her do something about the knowledge we just shared with her? We manifested a guide, a manual guide, using the legal advisor that volunteered in Meirim, something like the Israeli Zchuti, and now they can, so we also give them legal tools in order to act in the civil aspect. So we have the content. I would like to share with you now some examples about how the community uses the system of Meirim. The first one is taken from the city of Herzliya. While because of notification of Meirim, there was a local group of activists, and they managed to stop cutting down of 18 trees around their house. The municipality wanted to do a road there, but the community didn't want that to happen, and because of notification, they allowed to prevent it. The other system is happening actually, the other example is happening actually right now, these days. In the northern part of Israel, in the northern shore of the Kinneret, the Galilee, there is a beach that is a hidden natural gem area, and that the locals likes to go there. And one day a week ago, a notification popped up in Meirim, and they discovered that over 250 trees are about to be felled due to development purposes. They got grouped and they organized a civil campaign, and over 3,000 people in 2 days joined their petition. It's now being held these days. I hope they will success. Thank you. And this is, I believe, the essence of the project. Make the data accessible, raise awareness, engage local community to act, save the trees, and keep the public interest. And so just a few. These were two examples about the wider effect I believe that the system have created. In the following year, since the system has launched in January 21, there were few events happening. First, an increase of 27% of the appeal submitted to the National Woodland Officer in Israel. So the involvement was increased. The second one, the government announced that is going to create a CRM for tree licenses, and it will contain a public API for everyone. So you can query much easily and to manage the data much more better and efficiently. The third thing happened that the Israeli parliament, the Knesset, have created a new regulation about tree cutting, and it contains also standards about how the data should be published, also in the web, but also on the street level. I invite you all to go into Meirim, register to alert near your house and save the trees around your house. I wish this talk was an inspiration for you to set up your own code activist project. Thank you.